It does seem slightly peculiar that we're going to go all the way to Wellington in New Zealand to talk about the England head coach and 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 what Daniel McHardy, the one and only Sports Nation commentator and great friend here on talkSPORT 2, makes of the pressure and vitriol, if that's the right word, being heaped on his countrymen. Dan, let's start. If you'll forgive us, you've just been commentating on
No,
a brilliant
understandable.
Test series. But yeah, tell us what New Zealanders are making of Brendon McCullum and England's demise.
Can't believe it's over after 11 days, fundamentally. I think every summer New Zealand cricket fans have a hope and wish that any touring side will be able to give it to the Aussies. We have a golden rule in New Zealand, one ABA, anyone but Australia. And there was a lot of excitement around this series. I think over the course of maybe the last 18 months, 2 years, growing suspicion whether or not quote unquote Bazball would work in Australia. That has ultimately been proven to be the case. And I think, and you guys might agree or disagree with this, I think New Zealand fans got even more suspicious when England came here. Oh no, ultimately they won the Test series 2-1, but I think in every test they were 4 for 40 or 70, and the question was against a raucous Australian bowling lineup, whether or not they'd be able to handle the heat. I think Willow Rourke bowling at Seddon Park was akin to what England were likely to face. They didn't handle them well there. So, yeah, hugely disappointed that the series is over. Of course, there are some sort of national loyalties, but yeah, I'm sure the vitriol is very strong. But they've failed at every test, haven't they? Australia's lost 13 test matches in 15 years in Australia. It's extraordinary. England won 3 of those. 2010, 11. What happened in those series, guys? You batted close to 2 days and got 500-600, and multiple players stood up and scored massive hundreds. That has not happened. The other teams that have won in Australia, some version of Philander, Stain, Morkel, Philander, Stain, Rabada manners. I hope I got that correct. But again, Hashim Amla and AB de Villiers got massive hundreds. India with Bumrah and Kohli and Jaiswal. The only outlier is New Zealand winning in 2010 in Hobart on a New Zealand-like surface. Strangely enough, we've never been invited back to Hobart.
But Dan, obviously McCullum, Baz well. You're right.
Jeeton too. Yep.
Yeah,
Good
Jeter
men.
too. I mean, I felt for Jeter. I mean, no matter what Jeter was going to say, he was always going to get pulled up at the end of that from the coaching point of view. But that said, you've got McCullum. There's going to be a lot of talk about his job, his role. What makes you think he changes? Because he's very stubborn, is McCullum. You can see that over the last 3.5 years with the selection that England have had. I mean, what crumb of comfort do you give England supporters that this has been so catastrophically wrong in every department, from planning to preparation to execution, that McCullum can turn this around and do something different?
He's a gambler by nature. I just look at the toss in Perth. That's a great illustration. Okay, guys, we're going to play 5 bowlers. What are we going to do? We're going to bat first. 5 quick. He rocked up for this one-day series at Mount Maunganui. They'd been undercover for 2 or 3 days, and he said to me, Daniel, we're going to bat here. No one in their right mind probably would have batted. And not really answering the question. The first thing you need to hear is an admission of, I've got it wrong. I think we have heard that.
Yeah.
That is a start. But they're only words. The proof's going to have to be in the proverbial. But touring Australia, this should not have caught him by surprise. He toured there as a player for 4 test series, I think. So he knows the grind of Australia. You arrive at the airport, you get in a cab, and the cab driver starts sledging you. It is just an unrelenting place. So, yeah, he's admitted fault. He has to make the changes. Touring Australia, you can't just borrow the template for what has worked in sleepy New Zealand, for example. Yes, we already have the Tasman Sea sort of dividing us, but they're miles apart in so many capacities. So that's a start, Harmy. I might be clutching here. I might be clutching.
I mean, he needs to be lauded for, just because Test cricket's been played largely the same way for a century doesn't mean to say that it has to carry on being played in the same way. And it should be enjoyed. It should be about making memories. But Harmy gets particularly bristly at the sound of comments like "run towards the danger," and there are some practicalities. There are some things about cricket and Test cricket in particular which haven't changed and won't change, like new balls and bouncy pitches.
1,000,000%, Manners, for sure. The loyalty for which they've shown the opening partnership, despite some issues, you've got to get yourself off to a good start in Test cricket. Not every run in Test cricket is equal. You can slap New Zealand on a benign Hagley Oval pitch and have Harry Brook drop 5 times, and you can feel great about yourself. but first innings runs in Australia, I think, is the most important commodity in world cricket, isn't it, Harmy? You've got to score big. It's a hot place. You've got to keep the home side in the field as well. Why? Because you want them to have to back up and get miles in the legs like 2010 and 2011. So, yeah, hubris, it's probably a nice way to describe it, but yeah, but also ultimately it just can't rest at the shoulders and feet of the coach.
Yeah.
Like, is Ben Duckett hitting a 4 and then getting out second ball on the coach? There has to be some accountability. I can quibble more about selection. You've invested so much in Shoaib Bashir to cast him aside when, in all the years that I've watched cricket, a spinner is mightily important in Australia. I often trot the stat out that since Nathan Lyon started playing Test cricket, he averages 31 at home. All touring spinners average over 60. It's the frontline 3 get all the headlines in a lot of ways, but why? Because they got an off spinner who can attack, control an end, and rest. So I don't know why you discard Bashir for a bits and bobs cricketer. That's something that's generally batting at number 7 in New Zealand's Test lineup. I would have thought, and bowling some very part-time off spin. So not having more first-class runs as a batting backup. Players looked out of form, so they're very much culpable for the makeup of that squad. The hubris they've shown in sticking with them, but also you can't just point the finger solely. I think there's probably a lot of pointing to go around the room, captain included.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it is solely on McCullum. I think he's brainwashed some of the batters. I think he's brainwashed a lot of the player. Even in the hierarchy on how we're going to play. And the players aren't as good as what Baz McCullum was. They haven't got the temperament that Baz McCullum was. They haven't got the skill sets that Baz McCullum was. And I think that, for me, is some part of the problem. When you look at the way this England side have spoke, a lot like Baz McCullum. The way that they've tried to play, a lot like Brendon McCullum. Yes, he is the coach and he sets the tone, he sets the messaging. But you're right, there should be accountabilities on why England have gotten to where they are. And that's a longer story for a different day.